In a world surrounded by franchises, reboots, and shared universes, an elite team of podcasters will risk body and soul to investigate the depths of intellectual properties, one multiverse, subgenre, and trend at a time. Who are we? We're the IP Squad. Welcome back to the IP Squad, our ongoing investigation into films based on pulp and comic strip heroes. I'm John Campbell. My partners for this investigation, we just call them the Jones Boys.
I'll take it.
We've got that straight ahead, by the book, he knows all the rules and source materials.
He's a friend of the suit.
Yeah, that's right. That's Brendan Jones.
Why'd you go out with your girlfriend, the mayor?
They call it the law for a reason.
And then that's right, the Riggs of the show. It's Robin
Only
Jones.
Because he will not stop doing a Curly impression.
Yeah.
There you go.
And once again, I did just get off the phone with the mayor and the collateral damage you two have caused. Good Lord. Good Lord.
Right, maybe a little bit of collateral damage, but I think the big picture, you're going to see that maybe some more scum has been taken out.
And one day we'll bring down Mendoza.
Go back out on the street. Maybe you'd rather be in the morgue.
Brendan, are you using emojis and sound effects again on the show?
No, I just saw that and I'm freaked out.
Wait, you didn't do that? It's just doing that because you're doing it?
It just recognizes the fact I did a thumbs up, so it's doing a thumbs up.
Mine's not doing that. That's
Let me see what it does when I do this.
It turned off. No, yeah.
It's a new thing that you can get, a filter you can get on. I've heard about it on Zoom, which is hold your thumb up, it'll all of a sudden it'll be a lot of thumbs.
Well, you guys keep talking. I'm going to tell Discord to never do that again. So
yeah, sorry about that. We were briefly distracted, but how could we can't take distractions because we got a picture this week. Is this an all-timer, my friends? It's
boy.
Our friend,
it's no Prince Valiant.
Our friend, it's certainly not. Our friend Conan is back, but he's no longer a barbarian, you guys. He's changed careers. He's a destroyer now.
Whoa, wait. Which one were you supposed to watch? I watched Conan the Epicurean.
Oh, that's the 8th movie in this franchise, yeah.
That freebooting king of thieves just exploring new restaurants.
Well, that's interesting that you... it's interesting.
John, I watched Conan the Procrastinator.
Oh, no.
It's still on right now.
He said, I'll get to the adventure later. I'll find the princess later.
He's talking about stuff he might do.
Yeah.
He just put on his second boot.
Yeah.
And it's been
hours.
No, it can wait. I don't need to get it now.
It's the last time I asked Andy Warhol to direct a Conan.
24 hours long. Good Lord.
Barbarian sleep.
Actually, it's interesting, Brandon, you said King of Thieves because the working title of the script was Conan the King of Thieves.
Well, they do call him that in this movie.
And that was developed, and I don't know if it actually went into production as that, but for quite a while this was supposed to be called Conan the King of Thieves.
Today, we do skip over, as I was saying before we started, skipping over the history because this is the first time we've done a back-to-back sequel.
Yeah. We'll get more of these going forward.
More information on the creation of Conan.
I could talk a little bit about the director and cinematographer.
Yeah, and I was saying to you guys, I have a lot of background on this movie and sort of how it came to be. Now, it's interesting you mentioned, the director, because we're
sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say because last week Robin had said he didn't want to dump on this director. He goes, the movie's bad. And then I look up the director. I'm not as great at just knowing off the top of my head. And then I'm sitting there going like, yeah, he's the real deal.
He's great.
I mean, he made some movies I absolutely love.
Oh my God.
This is, I would say, later career
Fleischer.
But
I mean, he's coming off of Amityville 3D. I mean, just you don't.
Yeah.
The 80s were not the best time for Richard.
Whoa! He made the Neil Diamond Jazz Singer. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
John, you're mocking, but I'm gonna say the director of the original The Narrow Margin.
No.
The director of
yes.
His Kind of Woman, which is arguably my favorite Vincent Price overall film.
It's great.
And the director and cinematographer of The Vikings, which features a dude getting his eye clawed out.
I love The Vikings. He did 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which I love. Fantastic Voyage. Mr. Majestic.
I know, Robin. I know you're mocking, but I will say I have no son.
No,
I mean Fleischer is a good, but one of the reasons
when Van Helsing shows up in The Jazz Singer, it's kind of it was a leap. That was an artistic leap.
He is Nosferatu. No, wait, he is a cancer.
Wait, which one?
He is the son of Hitler.
Hold on, wait a minute. Which one am I filming today?
Is it secret? Is it safe?
I just want to say this guy, even the 70s was good for this guy. We've Robin, I know we both are fans of The Last Run. I like the new Centurions, Soylent Green.
Great.
Mr. Majestic, I think one of Bronson's best.
Right there.
Mr. Majestic is great. And then it just kind of
So we like this guy. He's not made a good film here.
Well, he was brought in from the sound of it on what I watched of the history stuff because I was saying this to you, Brendan. Arrow Video, there's a lot of history stuff, but none of the major players would sit down and be interviewed. So there's no Arnold interview, but what you do have is like film historian who wrote the book about the Conan movies is talking.
You also have Tracy Walter. Just they found him in a retirement home.
Well, you've got, but
a couple of things.
It's the kind of thing where it's like extensive interviews with the stunt coordinator and the costume designer. People who are like, yeah, shit, I'll talk about Conan the Destroyer. That doesn't like. Yeah. I'm not blamed for this movie, so I'll talk about how we built the sets.
Say just to start the ball rolling on this, it's a flat film. It's a flat.
I think that's the best description of it.
And
because I will say, because yesterday John and I hung out, and John had already watched it. I was going to watch it later, so I haven't seen it in years. And John's like, I'm using your own words against you. No, he's like, John was like, it's not as bad as I remembered. And when I watch it, it is exactly the same thing. There's stuff in here. There's Conan in here.
Yep.
But it is so watered down and so
watered
flat.
down is a great
thing.
That's it. That's what
I will say. I was a little blown away. This was 84, right, John?
84 is correct. Yeah. Yep.
I was a little blown away at how much you can get away with a PG movie.
Well, I was saying this to I was telling you about this, Brendan. Once again, one of the things from the documentary.
PG-13.
Yeah, there was no PG-13, but they did have to submit this multiple times and keep cutting stuff to not get the R rating. Because I was also surprised right at the start when he cleaves a guy with his sword and like blood sprays out of it. I went, whoa, okay, wait. Because I was going in already with the mindset of, I remember this being the more kid-friendly, watered-down version of Conan.
Right.
So when blood is gone...
not exactly that either.
It's not completely... The thing I was saying to you last night, Brendan, and this is very much... The thing about this is, this isn't horrible, but it is generic. In a way that Barbarian was better than most of the stuff. This is about on par with what I think of a lot of 80s fantasy films being like. It's just more forgettable.
John, that's exactly right. It is like somebody made a Conan knockoff, but instead it was a Conan film.
It's actually
and,
Conan,
and
yeah.
it just you're just kind of watching it. Well, that's. I mean, it's as funny as some bits in some other lesser films, and
yeah, I don't
know. This is what else. Well, yes, it's as funny as some bits in other films, but none of which are funny.
Right. No.
Right. Well, no, but I would say purposeful.
No, yeah,
it works.
Tone on purpose with this movie, and
right, and both films prove that Schwarzenegger somehow learned how to do really good drunk scenes because he kills it in the fireside drunk part.
I do think you can.
I just kept watching, going. He's not just doing slurring words. He's playing a guy trying to make sense, which is the classic way to play drunk correctly.
Yes,
and that was terrific, and
that's fine. But again, it is a thing where the purposeful stuff in the script, given to mostly to Tracy Walter, who, no offense, I love Tracy Walter, one of the great character actors. Love seeing him. His delivery it's always just been his own,
very unique,
and Repo Man from beginning to end. You know, but none of it works. None of the family friendly humor works. I'm sitting there going, oh God. And yes, when he punches a horse in the first action sequence,
right?
And I'm sitting there like, okay, let that be the only. Let that be the only callback. No, we actually get him re-meeting the camel from the first movie, and him going,
that
happened before, and then it spits on him, and you're like, oh boy, and then he
punches the camel again.
By the way, speaking of Tracy Walter, last minute casting on that, it was originally supposed to be David Lander from Laverne Shirley was supposed to play Malik. Although I have a question about, why is this not just Jerry Lopez again?
Guys, Jerry Lopez was a friend of
Milius, and Milius didn't direct it.
And they just didn't want to continue to.
But they bring Mako back.
You've already got Mako playing the character he played. Why, there's a lot of boxes checked,
and now we have an official name for him, which is Akiro.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's here, man. He's here. Like
he's here. And
I would say they're all here.
Oh, nobody. That's the
Chamberlain is no actor, but he's here.
He's trying.
He's fine.
He's trying.
I think
Walter's trying.
I think Grace Jones is.
I like this group. You know, it's like when it's Conan's crew.
Mm-hmm.
Grace Jones is doing what Grace Jones always does, but it's used well. And you're like,
I actually think she's one of the high points of the movie. I think Grace Jones.
She's fine, and Dabo, whichever Dabo it is.
It's Olivia.
This is Olivia, not Miriam. Okay,
she's one of the Dabos.
Yeah.
I watched it. I was like, oh right, they have a Dabo in this.
They have a Dabo in this. She's younger. But Brendan, as I was saying to you last night, because you didn't know, and this movie wouldn't have you believe. Careful about the Dabo stuff. She is 14 in this movie.
She's actually 15.
Well, she's 15 when it came out.
Oh, okay, you're right.
Wow.
Because I didn't know that, and then watched last night and was like, I've been having criminal thoughts.
Here's the thing, though, I do think some of that's on the movie.
I know it is on the movie, and then I looked her up on Wikipedia. We're the same age.
Mm-hmm.
She was born in '69 too, and I'm like, what? I never knew. I never knew. So, sorry, everyone out there. For pubescent me going, hey, the blonde in the new Conan film is.
But that was totally fine at that time because you were the same age.
Oh right,
right. You're forgiven. It would be me.
Yeah.
That would have the problem.
But the movie very
she's
much.
Fine too.
I think
I like Conan with a crew. It's pretty awesome.
And I will say, looking through and I will read the highs and lows later, but looking through. A lot of the reviews for this on IMDb, a lot of people have affinity for this because they go, it's a D&D campaign. Everybody has a part, and that seems to be... There's a lot of nerds who enjoy this movie on that level.
it again goes back to Kurosawa and the Seven Samurai.
Yes.
That kind of
Everybody's got a thing.
Right. They're
putting the band back together.
Yeah.
And they have to save the orphanage. Wait. Sorry,
well, that's here's the thing about. The thing I was going to say about here's the thing I'll say about the movie is I also like all that stuff, but I was talking to a friend of the show, Mike Ergoni, about this movie before I watched it again, and he was going, Destroyer, what happens in that? And both of us were trying to go, I can't. And I would say that's the thing is there's all these great things in it, but what are they doing? The plot of this movie, I don't blame us for not remember because it's nothing.
It's just rescue the girl. It rescue the girl.
Get the thing.
And they tried to set up
the Conan the Barbarian.
Right. They tried to set up the big twist, which is the whole thing is I need you to rescue my or take my princess stepdaughter or whatever.
Niece,
the
something.
queen.
Yeah.
I need
the niece. Her niece.
It's like my niece, and she's a prophesied, blah blah blah. And then it's like as soon as they're out of the room, and it's whenever you get her to that place, and they have the gem, she's going to be a sacrifice.
Yeah.
I'm going to get the power and make sure you kill Conan.
Did you think that was a weird choice?
It's going to be but no.
Did you think that was a weird choice screenplay wise to tell us that up front?
No, because sometimes it can work when it's the ticking.
Then you're waiting for Wilt Chamberlain to turn on them.
He's going to betray. But no, that doesn't it doesn't pay off here because it's not handled well.
I think that's more what I mean. Is that I guess it's not an inherently weird choice as much as it's just not. It doesn't work here for Bombada, the best character name in this movie. Wilt Chamberlain is Bombata. They all have great.
Well, it's great, especially with Arnold saying it.
Bombada.
And Dabo screaming it for half the movie.
Shrieking it every other minute.
Yeah.
Bombada, Bombada. But this movie basically is just the second fetishization of Sarah Douglas. In my life, yes, Dabo, of course, is a cutie.
Yeah.
No matter her age in this.
Well, and you
go, wow.
She's the virginal princess in this. She's totally designed to be exactly the cutie.
14, 15-year-old girl you put in a corset towards the end because that's when you're going to sacrifice.
That's right. And sure, why not? Wide-eyed and cute. But Sarah Douglas is Ursa. And let's not forget that Ursa's deviation, I can't remember what the quote is in Superman. It's like Zod tried to do a military overthrow. He's a brute.
He's a big old brute. He's a Hulk. You gotta get rid of him.
But something Ursa did that they never say. It's like threatened all of Krypton's children.
Yeah.
And her devious. And I'm like, what is going on with Ursa? But anyway. Also, short-haired brunette. I was done.
And actually, I gotta say, much like Superman 2,
big eyes, right, Brendan? Big eyes.
Big eyes.
We were just talking about this the other day.
Max Avery, wolf eyes, big.
But I will.
Like John, we were talking about Fallout.
Yeah, Ella Purnell. Yeah.
And I'm like going, Jesus, those are the biggest eyes ever. She's a king painting. And great show.
Let's not talk about Fallout because I swear I will go.
It's so very, very good. But
right.
Sarah Douglas is great in this, though. Sarah Douglas.
This episode brought to you by Fallout.
Sarah Douglas, but she really got the memo on what the tone of this is. She really sinks into being evil queen lady.
Sarah Douglas, 100%, brings it like a Vincent Price. She knows what the deal is.
However, Thoth Amon, who's
our
big bad.
This bothered me.
The god that's being resurrected doesn't get resurrected till the very end, and then you're like, this? But anyway,
that's what they were talking about.
I tell you something. Maybe they no use Carl Rambaldi too much. He's no good. Hey.
Yeah.
I think you went to the Halloween store.
Well, you guys are doing Dino De Laurentiis, which I should point out is the reason John Milius didn't direct this movie, according to the research I saw. Was
really?
Milius was like, I would love to make more Conan as long as Dino De Laurentiis doesn't produce it. And the studio went, sorry, it's Dino's picture.
Well, again, they cheaped out, which, again, if we're going to say that Fleischer's doing his best with what he has, and I think that's the case.
The reason they brought in Fleischer was because he directed other stuff for De Laurentiis, and De Laurentiis like, yeah, that guy will get the job done.
Sure.
He's a pro, you know?
If we're going to credit him with that, we're going to basically say, as you know, John, from doing all the, watching all the extras and so forth, is that studio interference, but also just a cheapening.
Yep.
And
I think that a lot of corners cut.
And this is what? Probably 3/4 the budget of the one before.
I gotta look here. Let me look.
Like I said, I mentioned Jack Cardiff before. World-class cinematographer Jack Cardiff, an occasional ace director Jack Cardiff.
This one only $2 million less, $18 million to the previous movie's $20 million. Yeah,
but there's some of those interior sets.
Yeah,
the way they're lit, it
looks like Star Trek, the original series.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and it feels even regardless of the actual the quality of the sets is one thing, but also just how much of it sets. It's so set bound. They're just going for, you feel the sound stage of the movie, whereas the first movie was really had great location shooting and these beautiful vistas. And there's a couple moments in that like this here, but it's very quickly let's get back to the set.
One of the reviews that you read in High and Low, Highs and Lows the last time, they actually said that, if I remember correctly, and I think it's someone that the same review is on Letterboxd, I think. But someone saying that they were actually saying, thank God they got rid of all the sort of philosophical musings and the poetic visuals, because they're like going, Destroyer is closer to a Robert E. Howard.
Yeah, and I've seen a few people say this,
And I can only say no, but plot-wise, yes. Like this, we may say, like, what is the story here? It is a melange of a bunch of stuff that is classic Robert E. Howard story, but without the budget to bring it to life, without the effects to bring it to life. And again, they softened it, and all of that leads to
the thing about Fleischer. I agree with you. Fleischer's certainly not a bad director, but like Milius really responded to this material. Fleischer is steering the ship, and what the historian guy in the documentary talked about was one of the reasons he was hired was the guy just wasn't a prom. He could bring the thing in on budget. He was pleasant. Everybody liked him. But it was just, but he didn't, you don't get the sense this is a guy with a lot of passion for this material. He's just competently going, like, it's competently made. You go like, yeah, that's a fine shot.
At this point, he's not as hungry as when he made the Vikings or 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And so even though the Vikings is the same director and cinematographer, you couldn't really tell if you're watching Conan the Destroyer.
This Milius was trying to give that pulp character
Kurosawa.
And
he saw it as something grander.
Want the legend, give you weight to it, to where you're like going, how does he eventually gain the throne with his bare hands? And you're like going, what is the riddle of steel? And you're like, this movie's like, nope, here he is, swinging that sword. And it does give you a couple of visuals. Here's the thing is, like you said, John, I did enjoy watching it, and it's not
a slog. No, and it's not a tough watch by any means.
There's a shot like towards the end where and I nitpick that Arnold is not visually the Conan of the books either, even though he's unbelievable.
And he's bigger in this. That's one of the things I love when Fleischer came on board. He was like, could this guy get bigger, and you're just like, who saw that first movie and thought, he needs to be a little bigger?
There's a shot in this thing towards the end where he's got the classic Conan sword in one hand and he's got the battle axe in the other.
Yep.
And I'm just sitting there going, okay. I mean,
that's
and I love the headpiece thing that he wears.
I actually do think Conan does actually look better. He does look really cool in this movie.
I like in the original and in the previous one where Conan is not reduced to being an action figure.
That's what he is.
Depending on the mission, he's wearing clothes in some points. He's like being a thief. Then he's got the body paint.
That was also a Fleischer thing.
Conan gear. He just is. I'm just going to be like this.
That was another Fleischer thing. Was he wore a shirt too much in the last one? No shirt at all in this movie.
Yeah, why do you hire this guy?
Yeah.
I can't fault it. And he looks amazing. So there you go.
He does. And this might be the
in this. It's like, damn.
And talk great. About when you talk about when he has I want that action figure of him with the sword and the axe. And that was the thing about
this whole group. I mean, if you get like what is Grace Jones's character name? Zula,
which is one of my favorite.
If you had the whole group, you got the wizard, and I mean,
one of my favorite pieces of trivia was they wrote Zula in the script as a man, but the casting department said it's Zula, so that's a woman, right? And then they cast Grace Jones. It was like, who cares? And actually, it's better.
The balance of that, and then they actually work it into the script, and in a very painful scene. That you're like, I like the idea of this scene, but this is awful writing. The whole thing about how do you get a man to like you?
Oh yeah. That's the thing about Diabo in this.
Will you be the captain of my guard, even though you're a lady?
That's
kick their chairs.
That's the thing about Diabo in this movie.
Shoving that down my throat.
I think she's fine.
Rioting. Brendan, do you remember all the rioting that happened?
Because this was in Texas up there.
Whoa!
That's another reason why you make another Conan for a long time, John.
Woman, queen, captain of the guard.
They burned down theaters after this.
They burned down, arguably, General Cinemas, which would have become AMC. They were destroyed by all the riots.
Yeah,
that's why they called it Conan the Destroyer.
That's why to this day there are still only a handful of theaters in Texas because most of them burned down following Conan the Destroyer.
They weren't protesting the content. They were actually burning those theaters in honor of Dagoth. You don't know this, but
little known fact.
Fulfill the prophecy.
Yeah,
little known fact.
But that will destroy the world. Have they not read the entire?
But
the entire.
I do like Conan going like, yes, they'll destroy the world, but I get Valeria back. Oh,
and actually,
I get Valeria back. Or
you guys remember my favorite part of this year's Oscars? The Arnold Schwarzenegger, Danny DeVito.
Yes, the best. The best.
And I realized in almost every movie that Arnold isn't playing a robot, and even somewhere he is, his weakness truly is love.
Yes. Yeah, he has never been good at that. That has never been a strong suit.
The leak from Conan High.
Actually, that movie is one of the better, like, heartfelt. I actually feel like because he's a robot, I actually do think the John Connor relationship does work in T2 because it is like, I don't understand. Arnold is, here's the thing, if his weakness is love, his strength as an actor, confusion. Legitimately. And there are moments in this movie, he's great in this movie anytime something crazy happens and they just go to a close-up of him going, Like, those are great.
Well, my favorite thing is Bombada does everything but wear a shirt that says, I'm going to kill you before this is over.
Yeah.
And Conan, at certain points, they'll cut to him and he just kind of looks at him. And I kept going, Conan is suspicious.
Yeah. Well, Arnold, in that way...
He's suspicious of anyone that's literally
Conan has some
taller than him.
Yeah. Oh, one of the best pieces of trivia from this, they had to they took a lot of time to find a horse for Wilt Chamberlain because any horse they put him on, his feet would touch the ground because he's like 7 feet tall. So they found a horse and had to have it shipped to where they were shooting. They had to have a horse sent out that was big enough for Wilt Chamberlain to ride because the guy was 7 feet tall.
In Mexico, there are no horses designed for 7 feet.
No,
they do.
They didn't evolve to the height of the people.
they do that thing, which is like these little moments, like we said, the bit with the lifting of the stone door.
Yep.
So it's like this is the Muscle Man moment.
That cardboard was really heavy.
But they sold it well because
they do a good job.
And Conan, and they're both like,
yeah.
And I'm like going, there's a little bit of the testosterone here that we didn't, that we missed from the previous movie.
Yeah.
This thing is. It is, like we said, watered down. So anytime they're showing him running someone through or a head gets lopped off or whatever, I'm sitting there going, thank you, movie. Thank you, movie.
Because,
thank you, nice.
Well, that's the thing I was...
Thank you, nice movie with the ding.
One of the things we were talking about, Brandon, you were saying jokingly before we started, this destroyed your love of this character, but I do think that, and you were being, of course, and my point was, I actually think the character of Conan comes out pretty unscathed, is what I was saying, because I do think in every moment he's still Conan. Like they don't really, even I actually think the moments of comedy that work are from Arnold. I love the thing when they first meet Zula and they go, she's fighting 6 men at once. He's like, yep, I think that's right.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's good. Well, because number one, we know Arnold is good at comedy. And you can tell he's better in this.
The comedy as Conan. In other words, Conan is never intentionally going, these guys are going to clack up when I...
No,
except for the horse, except for the fucking camel bit.
That is such a classic sequel bullshit joke.
No one could have made that work.
No, that's not Arnold's fault.
And I think they thought that they had a Indiana Jones have a sword and shoot
I'm so glad you mentioned Indiana Jones.
They're going back to with Temple of Doom. And it's just, no, you don't have it. And you
also,
were ripping off Blazing Saddles in the first movie.
How did Tracy Walters' thief recognize a camel that Conan had hit that he wasn't?
Well, that's what I'm talking. This is where I'm going. Like, was this the Jerry Lopez character at one point in the script? It's got to be, right? Yeah, exactly.
It's supposed to be the Jerry Lopez.
But Robin,
speaking of awesome character actors, in this movie, we have yet to bring up one of my favorites, whose autobiography I've read. Jeff Corey as the old evil wizard.
Jeff Corey?
Jeff Corey's autobiography?
Okay.
Dude, you need to read it because it is great.
That
man went through a lot.
I like Jeff Corey, but I have no interest in knowing about his life.
Lee J. Cobb betrayed him. You need to know these things.
By the way,
great with a beard. The only problem is he is Jeff Corey, and he took me out of this because you see him here, it's like. And he's not doing any kind of like exotic accent. He's just like, "Hi, I'm Jeff. You know me from blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Yeah."
I did think the big mistake was that he turned to the camera and said, "Hi, I'm Jeff Corey. Come along with me."
Yeah, that was the big.
That was the big mistake. Yeah, that's on the script though.
Which one? What was the big mistake?
No, I'd say that he identified himself.
Jeff Corey.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about.
Yeah. I'm here to tell you about the Hyborian Age.
Let me tell you about this prophecy.
Yeah.
They have to get this gem.
No,
they were worried people weren't following the plot,
Jeff Corey may have been picking up a check, but he did.
Oh, he's definitely picking up a check.
No, he is fine.
He's a pro.
And he has the right look.
Yeah.
He has a great look. You see him in probably a Roger Corman movie 2 or 3 years from now.
Oh yeah,
sure.
It's not the Corey that you want,
but it's the Corey that you need.
From the that episode of the Outer Limits, where he's the guy talking about the artificial intelligence they've created, and come to find out. He's an alien that was sent there to invent the Obit.
That is. Oh yes.
Jeff Corey.
When he starts like acting more alien-y.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, with big bottleneck.
Speaking of
Coke
things,
bottom,
the
glasses.
other credit he
You
has.
just have to let Rodman go. He has gone into a fugue.
Well, the thing I was going to say though about Jeff,
Corey.
it's a Corey-based fugue state. The other thing, Jeff Corey,
It must be paid.
Also if he had,
Which is a Lee J. Cobb role.
I was going to say,
trade Jeff Corey.
that's what I'm saying. If he wanted me to read his book, he should have called it Lee J. Cobb Betrayed Me, and I would have picked it up in a second.
Yeah.
But
you know what?
yeah,
That would have been a truth, but it would have been a truth you weren't expecting, and that's why it was not a title.
But his other credit in '84 is an episode of Whiz Kids. So just so you know, that's
probably,
what.
John, we didn't mention this, but this is a spinoff podcast. Caring about Corey.
About Corey. Well, because it's.
How much you want to bet in that episode he played a misunderstood homeless man?
Well, let me take a look here.
Oh no! Bro,
there we go.
Not giving Corey enough credit. He was playing a crazy scientist that the whiz kids have to talk to,
or harmless, homeless man where they're like going.
Sure.
Mr. Wilson just needs someone to care about him.
Hey,
right? That's what the Whiz Kids do.
Yeah, the Whiz Kids. But when are they going to reboot that? That's what I want to know.
Oh man, well they don't have a Simon and Simon to spin it off.
Yeah. Oh, which he also did. Don't worry, the next year he did a Simon and Simon. Anyway, off of Jeff Corey. But
they liked working with pros who were nice.
How about
they were blacklisted? They're grateful for the job.
But you mentioned Indiana Jones, Robin, which is very key to this because that.
Bring up the German guy, the guy who played the. German.
Well, you talk about Pat Roach, who's
Roach.
actually in all three of the original Indiana Jones movies as different henchmen.
Different
because he's also the guy whipping the kids that Indiana Jones beats up in Temple of Doom.
Yeah. That is not nice.
It's not nice.
He's not a nice guy.
So this movie, though, comes out the same year as Temple of Doom.
Corey.
This movie comes out the same year as Temple of Doom, and the success of Indiana Jones was a big reason why we got the movie we got. Dino De Laurentiis apparently was like, if Spielberg and Lucas are making all that money, why can't we make Conan Indiana Jones?
Right.
And you can really, when you hear that and then you think of this movie, you're like, I 100% see that. They're trying to turn Conan into Indiana Jones. Rather than this I think is the key mistake in this movie, right? Rather than go, people seem to really like the movie we made, we should make more of that. They immediately go, we can be even more successful by making it like another movie.
Yeah, see
that's a bad thought.
You could do
really bad. If they were going to do anything, it should have been, well, this is the Sanjuro to the Yojimbo that was made before.
There you go.
Way.
I guarantee you, no one in the production offices of this film brought up Kurosawa.
No, because Milius is long gone, man. Milius is off making Red Dawn at this point. A very Kurosawa movie, of course.
Very.
So Kurosawa-y that Red Dawn.
It wasn't nearly on the level of A Farewell to the King.
No.
But McNulty and Red Dawn.
But yes, the Indiana Jones, the Spielbergification, because you also had the 1-2 punch of Indiana Jones and E.T. And in fact, they got one of the guys who designed the monster in this worked on E.T. As well.
But he was De Laurentiis' guy for
He
decades.
was.
I mean, he was supposed to design a King Kong bot that was going to be amazing. Instead, they had to end up going with Rick Baker.
Yeah.
And then paying Rick Baker not to talk about it.
Trying to convince people that the suit parts were like a technological breakthrough.
It was a robot.
We spent even more time shutting Rick Baker up.
How much, Rick? How much for you to shut up?
Yeah, shut up, Rick Baker. Well, the other thing is you'll notice that the executive producer.
Me so mad.
You'll notice that
my friend Carlo.
The executive producer on this movie is Raffaella De Laurentiis, who's his daughter. And there's a quote, it's in the documentary on Conan the Barbarian, which does have Dino De Laurentiis in it. And he goes, no, Not just because she's my daughter. It's because she's the best producer available. No way. No, I would not have hired her if she was not amazing producer. And you're like, yeah, okay,
Best
sure, Dino.
producer available who's not the Kathleen Kennedy.
I try and get a Spielberg producer. You make the Indiana Jones, you come and make the Conan.
Raffaele, you want to do another favor?
Yeah. But
you like the muscle man, Raphael?
Yeah.
You're gonna have so many muscle men in this.
I
Remember
did.
when Papa take you to the Sword and Sandal movies in the 60s? Could you?
Well, and they did talk about the other thing that De Laurentiis brought up a lot is I like the old Sinbad movies. That's what they should feel like.
Right, which I literally, when they bring the dark god to life, I just go, oh, they're using the special Harryhausen spell. I see.
Yeah.
Because it's literally, it's a statue that starts moving and then eventually becomes
well, we also got in
makeup.
we also got another animated sequence in this.
Oh, but like
the bird.
More so,
the
right?
Big bird?
Yeah.
That's the thing in this where it's like they took that thing that was, you know, a brief moment in the first movie and they're like, more, longer.
Longer because it looks so good. No.
Yeah, I will also say the editing in this sometimes, there was like a cut back and forth between, was it Bambata and Conan on horseback? But they're just sitting on horses, and Conan is like getting ready.
Yeah.
Like he's holding a sword.
Yeah.
And then he puts it in another hand, and then he brings his hands together, and then maybe they're not on horses, but it would just took forever.
I don't think this was edited very well either. The pacing on this is pretty bad.
I think scene to scene it's okay, but shot to shot sometimes it was.
One thing that cracked me up. Did you guys notice in the not so good? We are green screened as we are on the boat.
Oh, on the boat, yeah.
Oh,
did you see?
There's.
Did you see that every time Conan was operating the rudder or whatever, that he was smacking Tracy Walter in the head, and you can tell that was not scripted. It was, he brings it down, and Tracy Walter's trying to it just goes, poof, and then. And I was like, "Wow!" They didn't go for a second take. They're like,
we should mention, and I said there's a reason. There's a interview with them on the that there's a story by credit from Jerry Conway and Roy Thomas on this movie.
Oh, there you go.
Who I have heard they talk. I was saying to you, Brendan, because it's an officially produced Universal thing. They're mainly there to talk about the history of Conan in comics anyway, and they're like, "Oh yeah, and we wrote a thing for Destroyer that they use some of, but they went a different way." I've heard Jerry Conway on podcasts be a little bit more like, we wrote a thing and they threw it in the trash. Like, that was basically it.
Yeah.
I was telling you, Brendan, that I really want to track this down. They did a comic book adaptation of their screenplay.
I read that.
Did you? Oh, you did read it.
Also, I found it.
You read that they did it.
That
yeah.
John, I found it.
Oh,
I will send it to
please
you
do send it to me because I really want to read it. It seems like because their comic ended up being called The Horn of Azoth. So I think the sort of magical journey aspect of it came from their script, and then kind of everything got tossed. Because that's the thing I will say. The thing I will say is the movie makes a lot of mistakes tonally and structurally, but like the idea of it being a more fantasy Conan story, I think is a fine direction to take the sequel because there are more magic-based Conan stories.
Is very Robert E. Howard.
Yeah.
And it is very and Dagoth is just another Lovecraftian ancient god thing. You know what I really wish in this movie, because I have no problem with that as a
well, I like the idea that they could each have their own flavor, right?
Yeah, but you sit there wishing that they had the money, because I do love a story where, whether it's Conan or not, where you have all these worshipers of something, and they're like, here comes the one who's going to take us to paradise or whatever and give us power. And then just like at the end of Raiders, where it's like, oh, look at we're looking at angels, and then they become horrific angels of death.
Right.
And yeah, so this is trying to do the same thing, where it's like
Totally
the sleeping god, and it's the statue of a beautiful man, and they put the horn on, and then immediately it turns into a rhino suit, and you're like going, oh, they could have actually worked with that if there had been more money, more time to do better effects.
That suit.
That was an uncredited Andre the Giant in the suit, and which you can tell because he looks like he's 1,000 times taller than.
Yeah. Well, I will say the other thing the best thing to come out of it is look up the photo from the set of this with Arnold, Wilt, and Andre the Giant, and it looks like you've stepped into a freak show. I will just say those three body types next to each other. You're like, this is the range of humanity in a direction. Oh my god! I didn't know a room could contain these men.
It was a deleted scene from Nightmare Alley.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Tyrone Power turned a corner and ran into these three guys.
You're gonna be the new geek.
That's when Tyrone Power sobers up at the end of the movie.
Yeah, that's where he's like,
cut it out. He just turns the corner and goes, whoa!
I've seen shit. He's what
the way you do that, it's like an Edith Brickley.
Wow. Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Yeah, it's absolutely that.
R.I.P. Joe Flaherty. By the way.
Yeah, always. Yeah, I love that man.
Best takes in comedy history, Joe Flaherty.
Well, and you talk about
and comedy's second greatest drunk.
Wait,
yes.
Who are you putting above Flaherty?
Very much.
Foster Brooks.
Okay, sure, yeah, that's
great. And then Joe Flaherty.
There's no argument.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
Ice cream. Yeah. We all scream for ice cream.
Okay, all right. Here's a tangent briefly.
On this show, never.
Eugene Levy.
Yes.
Did not know he was doing that until he was in the editing room.
Yeah.
Because Eugene Levy wrote the sketch, the 5 neat guys.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there going, well, I guess we're going to have to do this again because Joe, he's out of sync. And he just keeps looking at it and goes, oh, my God. No, he chose to do that.
Well, and
all right, let's throw in some more kites with him. Just
what I love is that
that's great. He didn't know that was Joe Flaherty.
Yeah,
I love that they all came up with slight character takes on the 5 neat guys. But apparently Flaherty's not telling them that his take is functioning alcohol.
Well, and that's the key, right? Is that he's not overdoing it. He's not totally blotto.
Like when he played Hugh Beaumont in Believe
He was. That was the key. He was always good at being.
The boy's only 30, June. Yeah.
When he can't get up off the ground in that sketch, is when he's on his hands and knees going, June, you just got to tell the kids. Joe Flaherty, one of the greats. Back on Conan the Destroyer.
Sorry, everybody at home, but you owe yourselves. You've got to track down anything you can see. Joe Flaherty.
SCTV.
Yeah, just go to YouTube and type in Joe Flaherty and go down that rabbit hole. You will not be disappointed. The thing, Brandon, talk about the pacing of this movie. It's a really interesting thing because one of the things I complimented the first movie on is there's not a lot of dialogue, and a lot of it's carried by the visuals. There's not a lot of dialogue in this movie either, but it's boring. There's no interest. Like, how much of this movie is them just like wandering around caverns or secret rooms? And you're literally, and I would just go like, why is no one talking? I never said that in the first movie. There was no point when I was like, why aren't they talking? Because there was always the great score.
Talking, because this is, a lot of the movie, as you say, is kind of like a travelogue or like, but Fellowship of the Ring. It's a classic D&D thing. Like, we have to go from here to there.
Yep. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
But whenever they do like camp or while they're on the horses, any dialogue they have is usually so painfully done. And there's a lot of
literally the line where she says, well, it's I just go where I'm led, and Schwarzenegger looks at it and goes, yes, I've noticed. That's like the best line of the whole film.
One of the things we definitely and I think plays into it because he is good in this, but Schwarzenegger hated this movie. I mean, just was pretty. And one of the weird things is he hated this movie so much. I saw this. They go he lost all interest in Conan, which I do think is a bummer. I was saying this to you, Brendan, before. That it's a bummer to me because I think this isn't bad enough that it needed to kill the franchise, but they should have learned from it and made another one. And I think if Arnold had maybe put his foot down with because the other big thing is also same year Terminator comes out, so Arnold going into a third movie would really have some clout. And could probably have got this back on track, but instead he's like, if that's what they're doing, I'm out. And then also, and I started to think about this. Apparently said, and everything will be contemporary for me now. I will do nothing set in the past anymore. And I did think about it and I went, but it's true. He never did do another thing set in the past.
John, it took like a gajillion years for him to do something like the cameo and Around the World.
That was actually, you know what? That was also when I could think. What was the next time I remember him seeing him in like another? And it was that cameo in Around the World.
Wait, you guys keep forgetting that amazing World War II that Sergeant Rock that he did.
That came very close. I don't know. That did some. That sounded.
Yeah, I know.
It didn't happen.
It
did sound. I don't know. It did sound kind of cool, actually.
I've never seen the original Predator. I didn't realize that Shane Black is in the original Predator as a guy reading Sergeant Rock comics.
Yep.
I was like, oh well, I guess that's where Arnold got that big idea.
How long did it take you to finally watch Predator?
Never. Still haven't seen.
You still haven't seen Predator?
It's great, Robin.
It is great.
I know.
It is great.
Hey guys, you preach to the choir. I know.
Maybe.
Watch it in Paris.
Maybe
watch it on the trip.
Maybe Arnold's best.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe Arnold's best movie. Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe it's in the running.
I think maybe I just got a little burned out, and I didn't. I was just like, well,
it's okay. It's all right. Look,
and that is one of my favorite things. And actually, as you bring that up, I don't know if I've announced this. I'll announce it here. That the next season of IP Squad will be Alien and Predator movies. So.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Well, I mean, you're gonna run out of steam probably. How many episodes is that? 8 maybe?
Yeah. Well, because we'll be building up to the new Alien movie. Is how we'll end that with Alien Romulus.
Okay.
Yeah. So, well, yeah.
I
it's like 10 if you do both franchises.
Predator. Oh, okay. All right. I'm probably forgetting about the Ridley Scotts or something.
Oh yeah, because you got those 2 prequels. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yes, Predator. But yeah, Shane Black. I'll talk about that when we get to that episode. But the idea that they hired him as an actor because the studio wouldn't hire him as a rewrite guy, so they're like, we'll put him in the movie, and then they go, since you're here, Shane, why don't you do a little punch up on this scene?
Oh,
that's kind of
wow.
great.
Yeah, that's like it's like because he wasn't an actor, like.
But I'm still waiting for him to do his Doc Savage.
Yeah, that's a big dream project.
When you had a manager, didn't you suggest that a number of times of like just the Shane Black option where you're like, I can act? Didn't you say that like over and over?
I did.
There you go.
I was like, well, why not me play Hal Jordan Green Lantern?
I'll get in the suit. I'll get in that.
A lot of people look at me and say pie face. A lot. More than you'd know.
I want to talk
for reasons as complicated as they call Tom Kalmaku pie face.
I want to talk about Toth Amon because that is a big villain from Conan. Once again, I don't really know probably from the stories, but definitely from the comics. And
definitely from the stories because he's the appropriate one as opposed to Thulsa Doom, who was King Cole
the Conquerors. Yeah, and we've also talked about the other one. Why am I blanking on the other guy's name? Anyway,
it's okay. You're gonna be all
Toth,
right.
Goth. The last name, his second name is Goth.
Solomon Kane.
I can't remember what it. No, the other Conan like main villain, but Toth Amon is like one of the Conan nemesis, and is not treated that way in this movie at all.
He is given the shortest of shrifts.
Oh yeah. To the point where it is that
like if this were a video game, he'd be the boss level, but instead he's just like this kind of side quest. It's not.
And he looks like they saw Nicole Williamson's Merlin and said, "What if he had a screwed up eye?"
Right.
So
yeah.
that's him, and then he turns into your favorite recurring big thug guy, but with a Halloween mask on, and it's so embarrassing. It is terrible.
It's like it starts off sort of interesting with this kind of lady from Shanghai Hall of Mirrors thing.
Yeah.
That scene's okay, actually. I think where it's like Conan has to break the mirrors.
Right. And then also I like the way that Conan figures out, oh, I know how to hurt this guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
But, and that's by accident, so it's not quite like, oh, Conan the logical or the good thinker. It's literally he swings his sword back and it breaks one of the mirrors, and the guy screams and goes, "Hey!"
Yeah,
right.
And that's
it's a weak scene for. It'd be like if you were doing a Batman movie, and he defeats the Joker and Ra's al Ghul in the middle 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're just like, well, who's left?
Well, that's kind of the pacing stuff I think you were talking about, Brendan.
I gotta take down Crazy Quilt at the end of the movie.
Crazy Quilt.
Oh, I would love to see a Crazy Quilt movie, but it's him versus Condiment King. But
Hype Man.
But
Hype Man.
The thing about it's Gentleman Ghost. No, but
Gentleman Ghost would be great.
I love Gentleman Ghost, but the thing,
what hurts when I look at the makeup effects in this movie is,
they're bad.
I know it's budgetary, but this is around the same time as, and it's not good to compare, but the exact same time as Legend comes out with one of the greatest body makeup designs of all time.
Where you cannot recognize them.
And yet, except the mouth because
of that voice in the mouth.
Legend is 85, so it's the next year. But I mean, roughly contemporary.
Yeah, it is the next year.
But it's contemporary.
Still, it doesn't matter. The technique is there to do that, and so
or
even we get is this.
Yeah.
It probably cost a little too much.
Do we need it? But do we need it? Like, I feel like that was.
We melting down a lot of balloons.
I don't know.
And the tires get late.
It looked pretty good. I feel like that was always the Dino De Laurentiis thing. Goes, it looks pretty good. So I thought it looked good.
Brendan, when this creature die, everyone cry. Okay.
Let's like the whole movie.
Darkness
like
dies, nobody cry. Okay.
Everybody cry for Dagoth.
When darkness dies, nobody cry.
Yeah. No. That's what we talk about. It just feels like there's just no one here. Like I said, Fleischer's just like, okay, fine. Like, it's just there's nobody here going, this should be better. Like I said, and that I think was the point of contention and why it came down to Milius going, I don't want to work with De Laurentiis, because I think Milius. They talked about one of the reasons they brought in Fleischer was like, he's not gonna fight you on stuff. I think Milius did force De Laurentiis to, if not spend a little bit more money at times, at least go, let's put a little bit more time into this. Let's think this out a little bit more. Let's do another draft of this thing.
De Laurentiis, similar to Corman, is always happy to settle.
Oh yeah,
like it's not something where it's like, let's strive to make this a bit. It's like, you got it on time and under budget, great.
Right.
And it doesn't look.
But the big difference.
Best, but whatever.
The big difference there, and why I have more affection for Corman, is Corman really doesn't have the money. De Laurentiis did have potentially the resources. He just didn't want to do it. Like, that's the thing. He made big movies.
Thinking about Dune at that point, to tell you the truth.
That's another thing that is hanging over this movie. Is he's spending a ton on Dune at the same time.
Because he's, think about it this way. Dune is also shot in Mexico, and it's going to be coming out within the next year or two. So that must have really taken a lot of focus, and for him to be looking at like some monster mask and he's okay, then that's. I gotta get back to Sting. Sting complain about the trailer again. So
well, I will say, I did read, Robin. I did read the Patrick Stewart autobiography that was out recently, which is great.
Oh wow!
And the whole section about Dune is pretty awesome. His whole.
Did you find it engaging?
Yeah, it did.
Make it so.
Well, as I was saying to Brendan, the book is called "Making It So" because it has to be. But no, he does talk about the insanity and nightmare of that shoot in Mexico, and just that it took way longer and it was very exacting, and Lynch was fighting De La because Lynch was a prom child for De Laurentiis, right? Because he wouldn't back down on stuff.
Book, an oral history of David Lynch's Dune.
I have seen that. I haven't read it, but yeah,
on my list.
Wasn't De Laurentiis' big problem with Lynch the fact that he opens Dune on a severed ear sitting in the stand of Iraq?
I don't get it, David.
One of the reasons why I want that book is I want it explained to me finally how Lynch and De Laurentiis, who were at each other's throats during the shooting of Dune, how then they go to making Blue Velvet together, and De Laurentiis buying the studios or creating the studios in Wilmington, and it's just so bizarre to me how they could go from literally trying to kill each other
because Blue Velvet cost $50.
That was it. Yeah, it was. That's it exactly. I think is my guess.
Why would they keep working with?
I think even if he hated him, he had to realize this guy is a filmmaker.
Yeah.
But I'm actually thinking about it from Lynch's perspective, because Lynch doesn't really. He had the guy who wrote the oral history really had to wait Lynch out to see if he was ever going to talk about, because he really doesn't like to talk about Dune at all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how traumatic this was for him. So why would he agree to make his passion project, Blue Velvet?
Yeah.
Well,
with
again,
got his way over and over and over again.
Robin, you may never know. You just need to walk away from it. You'll never know.
Yeah. So
no. Let's get back to something I well know about, Conan the Destroyer.
Conan the Destroyer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the thing I'm talking about, though, is like, when you talk about the pacing of the stuff, is like, there's just not a lot of momentum from scene to scene. You go, like, we go to this creepy castle to that creepy. It kind of does have a video game vibe. When you were talking about Thoth Amon being like a boss, it really is like, we have to do this. Oh, even the shattering of the mirrors feels like, every time you shatter a mirror, you lower his health bar, or whatever. Like,
exactly.
It has that vibe to it.
There's a little bit of the embarrassingly basic stuff where it feels, like you said, feels like a D&D campaign, but it feels like a very lame one. Yeah. Because it's just dot to dot. We have to get her here. She'll walk through fire to get a gem, which will allow her to unlock a horn that she has to put on a statue. Right. Now Dagoth is alive again.
Yeah, I mean, we're just talking about stuff that Joseph Campbell sketches out in Hero of a Thousand Faces.
Because like the whole movie, you are just it's like I want to pull out to the map in it, right, and they go to here and then back to here. And you just go like...
My favorite bit of fantasy in this entire story. In the entire story, it's not the god that's being resurrected or anything. My favorite bit of fantasy is the idea that Bombada is able to swim underwater while holding a morning star.
Yeah.
Very heavy weapon. And he can swim and surface. Holding on to it.
Them underwater...
because he had Wilt Chamberlain magic.
Yeah. Them underwater. By the way,
allowed him to sleep with 800.
Well, that's the thing that's
gets the superpower.
That's the thing that's very funny is they cast Wilt Chamberlain as a man protecting a virgin.
Yes.
That's come on. And actually, I will say, Olivia Diabo said that was their relationship in reality. Wilt was very protective of her.
I assume there's, he wasn't
He wasn't anything.
I wasn't there, but I'm going to say not a predator.
Never heard anything like that about him. Yeah, no.
Sexual, voracious guy who had women throwing themselves at him all the time. So there you go.
And what I love is you would think, because they're both the big guys in the movie, there'd be like a Arnold-Wilt rivalry. But from what I've heard, it was Wilt hated Grace Jones because,
wow.
And I love it, according to the trivia, because she was always blasting her boombox at full volume. And I just love the idea of Wilt Chamberlain in this costume with that wig being come on, turn it down, Grace. God, I'm trying to learn my lines.
Again?
I'm trying to take this serious. And that is the thing. The man can't act. It is painful. But he is trying. He's trying. You know he's doing his best. And so I'm sure he was going, I'm trying to learn these lines. He never acted again. Not in anything. And it's just, yeah. He looks great, but every time he speaks, you're like, ooh, I feel bad because I can see that he's trying. It doesn't feel like, this guy's not taking it seriously, but it is just, you're going like, oh God, he's not there. This movie also, I think, as much as we like all these people, it does lack a James Earl Jones or a Max von Sydow. You never really have anyone come into the movie who's like a real heavy hit. It really is Sarah Douglas who has that part, and who I think is great.
No offense to Jeff Corey, but it is true. There's nothing where you're like going. There's no magnetic center, which is the bad guy in concept. Like, even if Dagoth is the final boss, which technically is,
but Dagoth isn't really a villain.
Him up to be that, and there has to be, and maybe a little dialogue instead of.
That's what I mean. He's just a presence.
I will say, in Corey's defense, they don't really give him very much.
No,
like 2 scenes, and then he's wrapped when the spear goes through him. I kept looking at like Ferdy Main, and as the leader, and it felt like Corey could have been that guy. Like, they could have brought him in.
Well, it's weird. It's weird. Once again, it's weird. It should all. Jeff Corey should be Toth Amon, right? Like, it should be a singular. The idea that they fight a wizard and then fight another evil wizard is weird structure.
Well, no, they fight 3 evil wizards. There's
I'm sorry.
To the beast and the mirrors.
Yeah.
There's a leader of the one cult.
Yeah.
And
that's
then
right.
Corey obviously is the leader of the other cult. It's like, well, it's too much. Why not? Because she has the crystal, I think, that she can, like the Wicked Witch of the West, which, by the way, this reminded me a lot of Wizard of Oz too.
Yeah.
Sure. Sure. Especially the end when they're all getting their rewards.
She could send Corey and the followers to try to stop him there.
Well,
and then there could be that back and forth, and then maybe Corey doesn't succeed, so he tries to get back to the palace.
Yeah.
Or she calls him back. You fool! You let them get through
I do like the thing where at the end she looks, Schwarzenegger in the eye and goes, "And you were there? And you were there." And I think I'll miss you the most of all.
Yeah.
Bambata.
It's
Bambata.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Bambata.
Oh, Bambata.
Oh, Bambata.
Yeah.
That
Bambata, man.
Brendan, you remember that time you and your band were going to do a rock musical version of this called Oh Bambata? You remember that?
Yeah. And it was also that everyone was going to be naked in it.
Yeah.
Oh, Bambata.
Oh, Bambata.
Oh, Calcutta reference. I'm sorry, that's old. Again.
Yes.
Ancient reference there.
I hate to date Brendan like that, but then again, if I don't, who will?
Thank you.
But yeah, that's the thing about it, is there's just not a lot pulling you. There's these individual moments, and even like they give Conan the whole thing about like, well, why would Conan do this? Oh, because Sarah Douglas can bring Valeria back, which is okay. Yeah. Okay, all right.
No, actually, she can only bring back Valeria's corpse double.
Well, yes, there is,
because that was not sent off her.
Well, the other thing too that we have to talk about.
I think she got paid for like allowing her likeness.
I'm sure she did. She did. Yeah. When it's interesting because basically this whole crew goes and makes Red Sonja the year after this. It's the same.
It
It's
does
also
have Sandahl Bergman.
which has, but they bring in Sandahl.
guy.
They bring in Sandahl Bergman, but Fleischer's directing that. Of course, Arnold shows
Right.
up in it.
Cardiff is the
Yeah,
cinematographer.
I've actually never seen Red Sonja.
It's not great.
No, I think that's the reason I've never seen.
Funny
It's-
story.
Well, because it's another example of, say what you will,
De
but
Laurentiis.
De Laurentiis. They cast Brigitte Nielsen, who I get it from a physical standpoint, but the acting's not there.
Actually, I don't get it from a physical standpoint because, again, if they don't look like they do in the comics, I'm out.
But they do. I mean, they do a lot to try to make her look like her in the comics. They do get. They
give
put.
her that
They
thing
get.
with the headband and all that. I'm like,
They give her the red wig
Red
and.
Sonja's always like the big mane of red hair.
Brendan.
What?
Stop.
But I get that they're. But I get that they're like, okay, she's a big muscular woman who could be the female
She is
Conan.
a big muscular woman. That's
She
full
could-
stop the reason they made that movie.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Though, it's like that's why I'm saying, much like Arnold, I get where it's like, okay, this is female Conan, which is very much how they wanted to pitch Red Sonja.
Right.
But it's not. It doesn't. It's not good. She can't
And
act.
especially, I bet they're going for the same tone that this has.
Oh,
which
very
is
much so.
Maybe we can launch another family-friendly.
Very
barbarian,
much so. But because
film series.
because the rights are separate, Arnold plays a guy who's exactly like Conan but isn't Conan.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And, and I will say he's in the movie just a little bit, but he's actually bigger on the poster than Red Sonja. Which is also one of those things too, where it is like they really tried to fool people. They knew they had a stinker on their hands.
Just like when they did Batman and Robin, it was Chris O'Donnell. It was just like just Chris O'Donnell, and in the background was Batman.
Well, actually, it's very funny you say that. It's very funny you say that because actually, it was Arnold overshadowing Batman in that.
Oh,
Right.
Arnold got first billing. I remember it was one of the first times as a kid I was like, it doesn't seem right that he should be listed first. He's not Batman.
This
Right.
movie's called Mr. Freeze Meets a Couple of Guys.
Yeah, boy. Hey, folks, stay tuned for that because somewhere down the line we are going to be doing a Batman season of IP Squad. So don't you worry. Don't you worry.
Let's watch both of the serials and then move on.
The best interpretation of Batman. One thing we didn't mention. I want to talk about the score because that's a problem here.
Basil.
It is Basil, but not. He didn't score this. It is taken. It is a lot of them
Reused some of
reusing.
his other stuff.
Yes, it is reusing either recontextualizing parts of the score or using unused parts of the score. So this is all just recontextualized stuff he did for Barbarian. And you can feel that because there are moments where it sounds great, and then there are moments where you're going, wait, why is there no score here? Or why is there... And that's the thing. He did not write a new score for this. It is just reused,
That is
remixed.
Getting your money's worth, Mr. De Laurentiis.
Yeah.
Getting your money's worth.
Yeah.
That's like
got
a real.
two movie scores out of the man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
like
take
when
a
the
that.
cast of the Three Musketeers realized that
Yeah.
instead of releasing a 4-hour movie,
Yeah. Wait
the
a minute.
Falcons are just going to break it up into 2 films.
Boy, that was their
Fucking-
that was their
Some of
big
my
thought
favorite
always.
Film con artists.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys never miss a trick. The
Yeah,
Falcons.
yeah.
Apparently not.
Because actually, Basil Polidorus went with Milius to do Red Dawn. Was what he did an original
there you
score
go.
that same year. Which I don't. Then he also did.
Isn't that something he probably could have sued over? Probably not. It's
No, I'm
probably a
sure it
work
was
for
something
hire
in the
thing.
contract
Like, we
that
own
gave
the
them.
music,
Yeah.
we can do
Yeah, it's
whatever
got to
we
be. But it they do proudly say music by Basil Polidorus.
They do.
As if it's new score, but it's not. It's the same stuff. Yeah. You gotta love it. Let's.
You do, or else it's a thing. I gotta laugh or I'll cry.
It's very much that, and it is very reminiscent of the Salkinds also, or Golan and Globus. There were so many of these.
Yeah.
In these days when your super producers, before it really became the conglomerate companies that we know today owning studios, you really did have these like scrappy con men making movies.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
which I do find. They're not good guys, but I do find fun in the Hollywood sort of So, I've mentioned, we've mentioned, I think, on other podcasts, loving both of the Canon Films documentaries.
Both of the Canon
are
film
great.
documentaries are worth
are
watching.
well worth watching.
I didn't know there was more than one. I saw one.
Did you see Electric Boogaloo?
Electric Boogaloo, yeah.
You should also see the Go-Go Boys, which is more of a
Go-Go Boys.
That's a documentary actually about Golan and Globus.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really good, and they're both in it. It's a little bit well, Boogaloo is very fun.
Speaking of which, I don't know if you guys have read Tim Blake Nelson's novel.
It's
City
on my
of
list.
Clothes.
I'm really it's been on my list for a while. I need to read that.
One of the great Showbiz is the Devil books.
I've heard it's great.
Really terrific.
Yeah.
But it's very obvious when he bases people on real people.
Yeah.
And it's very obvious that one of the characters is based pretty much on Tim Blake Nelson.
That makes sense.
But there's the character that's based on him has encounters with people who are kind of like Harvey Weinstein, but also guys that are like Golan and Globus.
Yeah.
And it sort of underlines the Electric Boogaloo feel for those guys, which is, if you had to deal with dudes that were not necessarily filmmakers per se, Golan and Globus was a good way to go because they would never read the script.
Yeah,
there you go. If you pitched them the idea and had a good poster, they were 100% behind you and would back you 100%.
Great.
And so, unlike the Weinsteins, who would market the crap out of something to get if they wanted to, but still cut up your film,
right?
Which they almost never gave final cut to anybody. Golan and Globus would give you final cut for the most part. It's just that the money would, maybe run out in the middle of Superman 4 or something.
Yeah.
Well, that was always the thing about Golan and Globus. They were probably the most successful of these guys, but when they tried to go big and do Superman, they just don't have the resources or the follow through. Yeah, they just can't. You're not really Hollywood guys. I believe we'll be talking about them.
All of a sudden, Christopher Reeve has a story credit because they would back.
And I believe they were the deal there was for Street Smart as well. Was why he did that.
Yeah,
they also produced, which is a very good movie.
It's part of the same deal.
Yeah, very good movie.
Anyway, so.
I have more respect for those guys than some of the other ones because I
do too. It doesn't necessarily mean that the output,
but they had a little bit more integrity than some of the other guys.
Slightly more.
Yeah,
their heart was in slightly the
there's an earnestness to them that is not there in the Salkinds or in Dino De Laurentiis.
Right.
Or definitely in the Weinstein.
Oh God, certainly not.
Which I used to think of them as two sides of the same coin. No, Weinstein's their own coin.
They can take that coin. I do want to talk about. We'll get to the highs and lows, but I want to start with a surprising high, which is the one major film critic who was a big fan of this movie.
Oh, I know who it is.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about.
It's Roger Ebert. Ebert loved this. He has the only glowing review of this movie.
He did not love it. He's basically just saying this is a fun sword and sorcery movie.
Well,
it's not like he's going finally, I've seen the light.
No. But he
is on record as liking it better.
But reading his review, it's not. I finally have seen the light in films in general. But his attitude seems to be, now you've got it. Now this is the Conan movie, and he literally says, he goes, this is the next Tarzan franchise. He goes, thanks to this, unlike the darkness of the last one, we're going to be seeing Conan movies for the next 20 years. Because he's just they found the formula in this one.
That's a long call, bro.
Yeah, that's where he's going. It's more fun. It's got more action. You can take the kids. Yes. He's going, this is smart. This is how it's going to go. And I'm just like, Raj, And I can call him Raj. Raj.
And you can't even say that the reason why he was doing cartwheels was because of all the hotties in this movie. Because
we do that.
PG,
That's
underage.
That's
not a thing.
That's a recurring bit over on Meet the Monsters. Is Roger Ebert, noted perv. Because he will throw stuff out where he goes like this.
As much as I like Bound, Ebert.
Oh, Ebert loved Bound.
Second Coming.
Yeah. That one he really did go crazy for.
It just, oh my god.
But yeah, I was reading it going
it's
like
film noir, but it's got lesbian sex.
Well, it's hard to read his original review in the Chicago Sun-Times or whichever one he was writing for at the time, because
it was the Sun-Times.
The saliva actually it makes the print all kind of run together.
I will just
It becomes like the goodbye letter in The Jerk.
Yes. Or the goodbye letter in Casablanca.
I'll just read. These are the first two sentences of his. What you can see in Conan the Destroyer, if you look closely, is the beginning of a movie dynasty. This is the film that points the way to an indefinite series of Conan adventures. One that could even replace Tarzan in supplying our need for a noble savage in the movies.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And he goes on to go like, you weren't going to get that from Barbarian. This is what America wants. And something I talked to you about, Brenton, is like it actually did fairly well. That's why I think that's another reason why it's like you probably could have come back with something. And maybe there was a middle ground in a world where PG-13 existed, where it could have been not as gory as the first movie, but not as kiddie as this one.
This missed some beats, and it's getting close.
I think
it's not.
Because like the Marvel comics, not the Savage Sword, but the actual comics, I could see a movie working with that tone that's still treated seriously, but not, graphically. I don't know. Maybe there was a way to do that. This is such a swing in the opposite direction.
The answer is if you'd hired somebody like Sam Raimi, you would have really.
Well, you needed somebody. You need somebody with some passion. And Fleischer, while Fleischer is a good director, like I said, he's past his prime, and so at this point, he is kind of a guy who is just an old hat who's going to steer the ship and keep it on track, and
Well, it always benefits. Doesn't matter what the IP is, but it always benefits if you get a fan, someone who's passionate about it.
Yeah.
But you can also get like what's his name who did the Daredevil movie and Ghost
Mark Steven Johnson. Yeah.
I mean,
maybe
being a fan doesn't necessarily mean the movie.
But
somebody
who's
exactly.
Somebody, and Milius was kind of this to a certain point, wasn't a fan, but connected with the material in a way, had a passion as a filmmaker too, was young-ish at the time, was hungry to make something.
And Milius, he had a love for the noble savage, for the warrior poet,
the character,
was his thing. So the guy who made The Wind of the Lion could make a Conan the Barbarian.
He's the only one who knows.
Well, and that's it exactly. And treated it so seriously. Treated it like it was an epic in that, and that's what you need. And I just feel like this was just it's another
it was the saga of Beowulf or Gilgamesh. Something really huge.
So there was another film in development. They were working on the idea was De Laurentiis had a plan in 1987 to release Conan the Conqueror, which would have been the third in the trilogy. Of course, they were talking to Guy Hamilton to direct, which would have that's another Richard Fleischer guy who
or John Guillermin who made
Guillermin,
King 76 King
guys that once again know what they're doing, but are at that point old and just gonna they'll get it done. They'll get it in under De Laurentiis' budget. However, at that time, Schwarzenegger chose to do Predator, probably a good choice. And because he had this is very smart and very canny on Schwarzenegger's part. Because he had done that cameo in Red Sonja, that took up the third part of his deal with De Laurentiis.
Right. Good. That closed it out.
That closed it out. And I'm like, that's pretty good on his part.
That's Conan the businessman.
Right? Yeah. And so
Conan the real estate
developer. We will get to see that movie kind of eventually on this show, because that script became Cole the Conqueror.
Right.
What?
1997's Cole the Conqueror with Kevin Sorbo, which we will be watching a couple months from now.
All right.
I can't on political and emotional. I can't join you. I can't watch a Sorbo project.
Well, if we can be assured that Sorbo will not see one dime.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what his deal on that is. But Cole the Conqueror.
I can find it without paying.
Oh, I actually don't even. That movie kind of doesn't exist, so you may have to find it that way.
Right.
That thing. Anyway, though, but that is interesting that you never let anything lie in Hollywood, right? It's like, hey, can we do something else with this? And we've talked. It'll be. I wanted to.
That's like Howard Hawks making basically the same movie 5 different ways.
That is one of my favorites, though, because that's just a guy going, I just love making that movie, man. Can I just make this movie forever?
What's fun is when the guy and the girl, they're kind of equals and they banter a lot. Can I have 5 different versions of that, please?
He did that a lot. He did that a lot because, of course, then he just kept making Rio Bravo, kept making nonstop, man. He just
and then Rio Bravo's basically every scene Bogart and Bacall had in 2 other movies. You know?
Yeah, it's great.
But
you know what? The difference there being, I like that movie. I like seeing that movie again. I like a lot of those. He does it well.
He does it really well.
He really does.
I think I was going to say that Fleischer in these films in the 80s into the 90s feels like Howard Hawks after, say, Rio Lobo or something. You know, like kind of thing where he's just running on fumes at that point. You know?
Yeah.
All right, so let's see here. Let's look at some highs and lows.
Okay.
We'll start with the lows because that's kind of where we're at. I just kind of start with that.
Is this going to be another one that's a college thesis? A doctorate? I need to get comfortable.
Yeah. Get comfy here, because this comes to us. From let's see, IMDb user, what's his name here? Felipe Manuel Neto.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The founder of NATO.
Yeah, founder of NATO. Who titles the review "Forgettable." Period. After having seen Conan, I decided to see this film, which is one of the 2 sequels planned for the film, of which only this would see the light of day. I don't really like this kind of film, but they are films that are part of the collective memory. They managed to gather a remarkable collection of fans and are still on television. So the 2 films are far from forgotten and have stood the test of time relatively well, unlike a number of other potentially much better works. This without forgetting the importance of these works for Schwarzenegger's career, as I already had the opportunity to highlight in the review I wrote for the first film. Oh, that's a first. See my previous review of Conan the Barbarian.
Wow.
Oh, boy.
Boy, like a Pauline Kael he is.
Yeah.
Yes.
The film is heavily based on the source material from comic books, which did something that, for a historian like me, is almost a provocation. It chewed up the past and created something surreal, mixing elements from ancient cultures and inventing and redesigning a series of props, weapons, clothing, and fantasy elements. And if I considered the plot of the initial film to be quite mediocre in its writing and conception, this film manages to be even worse. At least the original film had the flavor of novelty and good action scenes, choreographed with visual impact. This film doesn't even have that going for it. It's bland, boring, tiresome, and uninteresting. The characters are nothing more than figures with faces without personality or ability to arouse our interest. Perhaps part of the blame lies with the inability of the director, Richard Fleischer. The cast is, to say the least, bizarre.
Wow.
Although I think that somehow fits the whole film. Schwarzenegger doesn't give us anything he hasn't already given us in the initial film, and he's far from the great actor we know. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I think that was a point I made earlier. I think he's gotten better. I think you can actually see he's better in this.
He's on his way.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think the script is worse, but I think he's more comfortable.
Was even better than it was in Barbarian. So.
I guess, yeah, that's what I'll say. It seems like he's more comfortable as an actor in this one.
Yeah.
Because the material is lesser. But, okay. In fact, his ability... Oh, here we go. Far from the great actor we know. In fact, his abilities as an actor are still few. And his acting is based on his physical build and way he's able to fight. Wilt Chamberlain also looks like a colossus of strength and virility, but the film doesn't know how to take advantage of him. Okay, that's an interesting... The actor's effort is terrible. Tracy Walter is very bad. Olivia d'Abo is beautiful but insipid, uninteresting, and only appears to the public to want her involvement with one of the heroes. Grace Jones, despite having great popularity at this time, is simply herself, not capable of acting or playing a character. Sarah Douglas does what she can, but fails to save the film. Technically, the film is very similar to the first, betting on original sets. The use of filming is generally well-chosen. Locations is to be commended, and somewhat fanciful kitsch and dubious costumes. The cinematography is regular, and the soundtrack doesn't bring anything particularly remarkable to the film, and the editing seems to have been well executed. Ooh, disagree on that. What seduced me most about the production values, however, was the general quality of the special effects and sound, which seemed to have evolved when compared to the first film. Also, strong disagree. 1 out of 10 stars from Felipe. Love the as a history.
Special effects and sound. Jeez.
I guess the sound was fine, but the special effects were a big step down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let it be known, he's a historian first.
Okay. Yeah.
Which even for you, Brendan, who brings up this isn't it's immediately alternate fantasy history. So
yes,
that's insane to go like they're mixing arrows of weapon. Yeah, man, because it's not real.
Dude, when it's a sword and sorcery movie, I can let that go.
Yeah,
unless
because
they're literally saying like, isn't that Julius Caesar over there? And
because even like we talked about that even in Barbarian, Milius like roughly had an idea of where it might have taken place in real history, but he doesn't put up any title cards with years or anything. You know, it's still
he does not have Mako.
I'm telling you, I wish there had been more Mako.
He's good in the moments he gets.
I thought Tracy Walter actually was given way too much, and maybe they should have thrown more to Mako.
All right, here we go. Here comes the essay about how great the movie is.
Okay.
This comes to us from Ivo Cobra 8.
Oh, this guy.
Underrated, awesome, epic conclusion sequel to the original film! Is the title.
Conclusion sequel, which is his way of saying.
Yeah.
Is this the way it ties? Because the way they tie up all the loose ends, they answer all the questions from the first.
Yes.
Here we go.
Who is Dagoth? Is he just a big rubber monster? I guess so.
Conan the Destroyer is actually a very underrated flop to the success of the original epic adventure. It really wasn't a flop, but okay. Even though Conan the Destroyer is very bashed and criticized by critics and fans, this film is actually very good. It is my childhood film. Now, I will say, just on that point, I also love this movie at like 6 or 7 because that's kind of the perfect time to see it. But even that nostalgia doesn't carry me through on this thing.
Hey, can I tell you something? When I was like that age, I thought Those Amazing Dobermans was one of the best movies I ever saw.
Yeah. They're
around that age. My mind.
And around that age is when you said "It's a Mad, 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 Mad World" is the most perfect film comedy of all time.
Well,
it is.
You still say that?
I still say it.
Yeah.
The Lawrence of Arabia of comedy.
Let's get a little background on this guy. I like that because this is actually the third Arnold Schwarzenegger film I watched as a child. Just like, he doesn't say what the other ones were. but he apparently saw 2 before this.
A list.
If it isn't Hercules in New York and The Villain,
yeah,
then,
his finest work.
The Villain was on early HBO every 3 hours.
Every 3 hours, yeah. That's right.
Oh, God. You used to see that way too long.
After seeing this film on VHS in the 90s, I wished to see Conan the Barbarian so badly with Arnold in it. Finally, it was on TV, and I've enjoyed the first film the same as I did the sequel. This film is very underrated, but it is still good. Million ways better than the remake Conan the Barbarian from 2011 and Red Sonja. They ruined the original film with that remake. Sorry, I never liked Red Sonja or the remake to the original and sequel film. Why hate this film when it's not that bad? In fact, it's really good. Why remake the film if we already had the original film? Pointless. Okay. This film is also pretty brutal in places. It is violent and somewhat bloody, but all of the mean-spirited violence is dealt by the evil characters. So don't be too misled by the PG rating. The PG rating doesn't harm the tone of the film much. It's still relatively bloody, but apparently Richard Fleischer shot it as a hard R before the producers cut it down. That's not entirely true. He shot it intending to make it lesser, and it got rated R, and then they had to cut it. That's still, yeah. It's not like there's a cut of this out there filled with gore.
Oh man, show me the
gore-full cut.
Yeah,
I want the Fleischer cut.
This is not
gritty black.
This is not the Die Hard 4 where you must watch the director's cut because they did actually cut out all the cursing and blood. All right.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Highly recommend.
Does that mean I have to watch Die Hard 4?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna watch Die Hard 4, John.
Die Hard 4.
I'm not gonna do it.
Die Hard 4 is amazing. I don't know what you guys are out of your minds. But anyway.
You know what? Even if it was the IP squad and the mayor himself came to me, he said I had to watch that movie, I would not watch that movie.
All right. Conan, parentheses, beautiful and charismatic Arnold Schwarzenegger. Going on a mission for Evil Queen, he must retrieve a gemstone. Anyway, he describes the plot. That's your basic plot. It does involve sword fights and sorcery, including mythology, like the evil god that put the horn on him and trying to kill Jenna. We didn't talk about this. I love that everyone has like Bombada, Zula, and then the princess is Jenna.
Yeah.
No. He kind of shot himself in the foot when he said beautiful and charismatic Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It is spelled, I agree, Brendan, it is spelled in a sword and sorcery way. So in a Robert E. Howard pulp, I would agree with you. But when everyone's just saying it.
But when you're hearing it on screen and people just going, hey, Jenna, and she's like,
like every time she said that, it was every time they said.
Take for a boy to like you.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that stuff is not good.
Do you mean like the Horn of Dagoth or something?
You know what? Actually,
Brendan, did Dabo sound like Jerry Lewis when she said that, or was that?
She was thinking in a way that sounded a little like that.
Now, I am actually surprised that they didn't put in a young character love interest for her. It felt like that would be somebody on the journey.
Hangs the head that wears the crown. She will be a lonely ruler for all the time.
Actually, this is a very tragic movie. All right, we got to get through this review.
Very tragic.
Conan.
We still have 8 minutes of this review. So
the put the horn on and him. Conan chopping the heads off. They didn't show I love that this guy just keeps going. No, it's violent. Conan chopping the heads off. They didn't show everything, but we see flying heads when Conan chops them off. Conan fighting with Wizard Toth Amon in the Chamber of Mirrors was epic. The battle was awesome. I love that.
It was in a Chamber of Mirrors, so you could see how beautiful and charismatic he was in a real way.
Yeah.
I think, John, the point is that he lost us at beautiful and charismatic.
Yeah, it's tough to come back. It's tough to come back from.
I don't understand why IMDb did not shut down. When he touched
I'm sorry. Did you mean to say? It starts offering suggestions. Did you mean to say beautiful and charismatic Sarah Douglas?
I love that Conan kills Bombada at the end of the film for betraying him. Conan fighting off Queen Taramis's guards in the opening scene was just spectacular, bloody and very violent. That's what I just love in this film. After watching it this Saturday, I've enjoyed every moment and had fun with it. The film has a cracking soundtrack to it and an awesome score. The ambush scene by the horse soldiers and the fight underground after stealing the horn. Basil Polidor's music is one part of the film that is totally up to scratch because it's just the same as the first one.
Yeah, it's just that really.
It's not as heavy as the score to the first film, but he does introduce new, stronger themes. Mostly just some of it is new, but only because it's just stuff that wasn't used in the first movie. And then
leftovers.
Yeah. It's still my favorite film. PG rating doesn't bother me. The film is still awesome, entertaining, and fun. I will take this over Red Sonja and Conan the Remake! 10 out of 10 stars.
He really hated the remake.
Non-beautiful and non-charismatic Jason Momoa, who we all hate.
I will say,
Total uggo Jason Momoa.
I saw the remake in the theater. I have not seen it since. I remember thinking it was okay. And actually, he's good. He's good.
I'm sure Momoa is fine.
Yeah.
It seems like a part he could do without thinking about it.
Yeah. I will say, we'll talk about this, but a little over-reliance on CGI might be a problem with the remake. Yeah. It's 2011, so that was par for the course.
Pixels.
You got to get them. But Stephen Lang is having fun in it. All right. He's having a great time playing the bad guy in that movie.
Good.
Yeah.
Lang understands the assignment.
Oh, Lang always understands the assignment. That man has always understood the assignment.
Marty, that dude.
Yeah. So that's Conan the Destroyer. I just stick with Barbarian. I don't think, like I said, I think when people go like, Jesus, the Destroyer, you're like, nah, it's not that bad, but it is particularly bad in comparison to the first movie. I think that's really where it suffers.
It's mildly entertaining and has some stuff in it that works. It has a lot that doesn't.
Yeah.
It is not an embarrassment, but
no, it could.
Mainly suffers by comparison.
It really does. It's a big step down.
Great.
Yeah. Big step down.
I mean, when we're talking about the beautiful and charismatic Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
I think we can think about 27 other movies where he would.
Well, I think that's a big.
Twins, he is both beautiful and charismatic.
He kind of is. He's pretty charming in Twins.
Well, to quote the great man himself, yes, I've noticed.
There you go. End it there, John. Just end it there.
Well, we got to talk about what we're watching next. We got to talk about what we're watching next week because we're gonna stay in the 80s. This is our last movie of the 80s. It's 1989. This is the first time we're talking about this character. It's
Batman,
the pulpiest of pulp characters. No, it's a film. Brendan, you said, oh, don't forget this one. Brooke Shields is Brenda Starr.
Oh, it's terrible. This will be
wonderful. Yeah. Who was Brenda Starr was Jill St. John. That's who I said.
On TV.
There have been a few, but this is the infamously.
This is because I will say it's like 1989. It came out in foreign markets. 1992 it came out in the U.S. and 1986 it was shot, I believe. So.
Which is why I'll be watching it in Paris, fellas.
Gay Paris.
Paris. Watching
where it should be. Well, I'll give you just to give people a taste. I'll give you the tagline. Here you go. Here it is.
Okay.
The Germans, the Russians, British intelligence, and the CIA are after her. Everyone's favorite reporter is hot on adventure's trail.
Oh my God.
Wanda Nevada? Oh my God.
Lois Lane? Yeah.
Suddenly Susan?
Yeah. Oh, good Lord.
Suddenly Susan.
Yeah. I watched some of that show. It was okay. But mainly I'm just... okay, here's my thing. Never seen this movie. Have only heard terrible things, of course.
I've never watched it all the way through.
No, I will say...
I've never seen it all the way through either.
Wow, so it's kind of it's going to be basically a first viewing for all of us. Mainly excited because Dalton's in it, and I love Dalton. What I love is between filming it and it coming out, he gets Bond. So,
Nice.
yeah, because so that's key.
It was also famously shelved for a long time.
Like I said, it's shot in 86, released foreign 89, came out in the U.S. 92. So
John, is it Golan Globus? Is this a Golan Globus?
I thought it was for a second, but I don't believe it actually is Golan Globe. Oh no, wait. Yes, it was Golan Globus.
Hey, who called it?
Well, okay, they didn't make it, but they ended up buying the rights and releasing
They
it.
ended up buying the rights.
Yes,
Was it
that's why I
Golan
was.
and/or Globus, or was it Golan or Globus?
It was Golan and Globus.
This one was still Golan. They were still working together at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
And no, I tend to lump all of their adventure movies together in one thing. Like this to me,
King
is
Solomon's
like,
Mines.
the Alan Quartermain movies, like the Jake Speed movie. They're all like
Firewalker. Do you remember Firewalker with Chuck Norris and Lou Gossett Jr.?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
That was Chuck Norris's attempt to do Indiana Jones.
Norris.
It's not
Right.
good.
So
it's
they
not
were
good.
But they all, to me, are the same movie.
Sure.
So this will be interesting.
All I know.
Yeah, maybe there's a crossover that we don't know.
All I know is the poster has Timothy Dalton with an eye patch, and I'm there.
Well, sure. That is Brenda's longtime.
Basil St. John. Yeah. So we will
talk about it and
Yeah.
the importance of that comic strip character.
Yes, yeah, we're gonna have new stuff to say about Brenda Starr before we enter what was the kind of the golden age for making these, which is the '90s, where they really hit pulp characters hard. So
they hit him in the face,
right in the face, socked him in the
and
jaw,
it left a skull mark on their.
Well, yeah, ooh, I know we're Phantom
Brendan,
guys.
Does it ever come off?
No, that's how
And
hard
it
he
marks
is.
you as an enemy of the Phantom.
Do you think the Phantom ever hit a guy and it didn't quite take? Oh, sorry, I got to hit him again just to make sure it stays.
So.
Yeah,
And I
there it
also
is.
think sometimes he's like, "Oh crap, wrong ring."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh no, you're my friend.
Oh
You're my friend."
shit. Sorry.
He had to initial.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, I'm gonna cross it out
like
and
a bank
initial,
document.
Yeah.
so they know
Yeah.
that
Void.
that was a mistake.
Make a mistake.
He has a void. He also has a void ring that he can punch over it to go. There you go.
I just got carried
that's
away.
on it.
What was
Sorry.
the punching?
Sorry. Ugh. Ooh. Well, we're still.
He does have a ring to mark his friends, which means he has to punch his friends in the face.
I love you so much.
And they're like, hey, Ghost Who Walks.
Yeah.
I'm good.
But listeners, don't get too excited. The Phantom.
Don't have a ring for nodding.
All that business, though, I'm saying, don't get too excited, listeners. The Phantom is still several weeks away. So.
I know.
Yeah. That's.
I love the fact that that's how he rates his DoorDash guys too.
Yeah.
They're going, no.
Just leave it.
Stars on their.
Leave it, Kit Walker. It's fine.
Excellent service out here to the Skull Cave. Bam! They're like, Jesus, I would take
So-
a tip.
Sorry, I got to get you 4 more because this is a 5-star delivery. It's a 5-skull delivery. All right. So that'll be Brenda Starr, though. It will be Brenda Starr next week. And of course, make sure you want to head over to our Patreon page for exclusive content. That's patreon.podbean.com/punchup. Patreon.podbean.com/punchup for cool exclusive bonus content. But until next week, the case file is closed.